this again. And I'm going to talk about cops. I was on a really great live stream with Liz Ferris a while ago. We were discussing the police officers in LAPD regarding the Squirrel Squad, the ex Scientologists that are speaking out and protesting against Scientology, as well as never in, as in people who've never been Scientologists but have joined the cause, like myself. Hey, girl, hey, I see you. Now the question is, how do I do that? Hi, Kristen. I have to figure out how to do you guys are my little test dummies. How do I put this up? Let's see. I have no idea how I highlight these because I'm doing on YouTube. So video quality. So what is it? Is it good? Good. Oh, thank you. Good. I'm glad. Um, so I don't know how to do put your chats up there, but I can see it. Anyways, I wanted to talk about cops. And the reason that I wanted to talk about cops is that, oh, can you guys hear me okay? My, can you have 5 by 5 to, steal from time? Anyways, perfect. Okay. So I wanted to talk about my experiences with cops as a teenage runaway. I started running away from home when I was 14. Actually, first time I ran away from home is actually kind of a cute story. I was 4 years old and I told my mom I was running away. She was like, okay. And so I stomped out of the house and I walked around the block. And my mom told me years later that she followed me, which I think is adorable. And she told this cute story about how it's like waving my arms around and yelling and stomping my feet. That was cute. But that's my only cute runaway story that I have. I'm gonna just skip right to after I left. Pardon me. After I left Alpha House and moved in with my grandmother, when I tried regular school and then ended up in ADT. This would be when the running away would pick up. Um, in some cases, it's kind of hard to be called a runaway when no one's paying attention, but that's okay. Um, I think I did that once. My little brother did something similar and crawled into my mom's car with his Game Boy for an hour. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Um, what do you what do you mean, Sharon? The quality will suck. I hope it doesn't. Um, so anyway, so I started I when I got home, I started running away to my mom's place. Because even though my dad had custody of me, I didn't live with him. I lived with his mother. And my mom was, oh, we'll figure that out. Don't worry about it. Um, so I would start to run away to my mom's, and every time she would check in with my grandmother or whatever, my grandmother would insist that I come back. That's another video for another time. I just have my mom on my mind right now. So when, especially when, well, I lived in this town in Metro Detroit called Livonia, kind of a middle upper class suburb of Detroit, only like 4 miles away from Detroit. Uh, but it is a well-known sundowners town, which is pretty embarrassing. But they had this police department, still do. Actually. Their police department was particularly difficult for me because they knew my dad. My dad never reported me missing. It was always if I took a friend with me, their parents would report them missing, and I would get busted. I have a story that I want to share about one time I had planned with a girlfriend of mine. I stole a bunch of my grandma's jewelry. I wasn't like I wasn't addicted to drugs at this point, but I definitely dived headfirst after 2 drug rehabs. I was like, "Oh, okay, let's try that." So, I stole a bunch of my grandma's jewelry and sold it for 2 tickets to Chicago for me and a friend of mine. So, this friend of mine, her father was an auxiliary police officer, rent-a-cop, and, so somebody had called her parents to tell them that we were spotted at the train station, which it turns out was the guy that I sold the jewelry to. He was worried about her, not me. Um, but he was worried about her going with me to Chicago. So the police department showed up, and so it was the 2 of us and this guy that we knew, an older guy that we knew. And we saw the cops coming and went hid in the bathroom, but didn't work out so great. All 3 of us got arrested. He was an adult and somehow managed he had, like, a bag of weed and somehow managed to, like, shove it in my pocket before anybody could see that he did that. And, we were all separately, transported to the police department, and then when the cop car that I was in, 2 cops, 2 men, 2 male cops, think that this is illegal now, but this was, 1985, 86. So, uh, they pull into, like, the garage, area where they take people out of the cars and put them into the jail, and, I had taken I felt this bag of weed, I took the bag of weed out and threw it in the seat, and the cop that was driving was very rough on me, and I was probably at the time, I was probably still 5'4", weighed 105 pounds, maybe at best. And he was very rough with me, and he yanked me out of the car. He saw the bag of weed, and he's like, "Is this your bag of weed?" I'm like, "Actually, it's the guy's weed that with me, but yeah, sure, whatever. It's my weed." And he slammed me up face first up against the car in the back, against the trunk, and patted me down. Then, of course, I hit my face on the car, and I was a very angry teenager and person in my 20s. So my teens and 20s, I was very angry, I was very mean. This thing right here, to call that my bitch meter. I used to tell people that they could just slide their credit cards through there to pay me. I don't know if I could still do the trick where I can hold a quarter there, but um, hey, girl. All right. Nice. So anyway, so that you have a bitch meter too. Yeah. It's people have joked with me that I should Botox it. And I'm like, I don't care about I don't care about Botox. Like I'm aging because I didn't think that I would live past 18. So I'm just going with it. Whatever. So that was a fairly difficult experience. And then I got booked and thrown in a cell, literally thrown into a cell. They contacted my dad, who I did not live with. He came and picked me up. He was angry because he was working midnights and it woke him up. He was a truck driver. And it woke me up. Um, it woke him up. So he came to pick me up and he beat my ass all the way home. And it was about, excuse me, 20 minutes to get home. So that was a fun 20 minutes of smashing my head against the passenger window and screaming at me and all the things. And then dropped me off at my grandma's house, and I was gone again the next day. I was done. And then that's when I stopped bringing people with me. There's more than one situation where we got busted. We got busted in a same girl. Got to learn these lessons, right? We got busted in a bowling alley parking lot. Again, roughed up. My mom lived in this small lake town, and back in the 80s, now it's this super wealthy area. Like the houses start at $800,000. But this town used to be little. It was considered up north from Detroit. It's about 40 miles from downtown Detroit, where I live. Um, called Walled Lake. It's a beautiful little town. But they had a police force there. This was it was a poor lake town back then. Little cabins and cottages and you know, lower middle class. I say lower class because I don't like the whole caste society in general, but these were not well off people. They were, they were working people that were doing everything they could to get by. There was a particular officer. I cannot remember. I want to say it's Mike, but I'm not 100% sure. But his nickname was Wojo. His name was Wojakowski. And this man used to hunt me down, and he used to harass me. He used to sexually harass me. He did SA me more than once when he would pick me up, and then he wouldn't even take me home. He wouldn't call it in. He didn't report that he had me. He would hold me and have his fun with me and then let me go. And given that I was a throwaway kid that just got out of 2 rehab programs and was now in a special school. Sorry, I don't know what that noise is. I apologize. Oh, if you see the lights, that's my disco ball that I have hanging over my over my skylight, because my office / art studio is also a nightclub for my cats. Or we call it a day club because the sun hits the disco ball. But yeah, that oh, I have ghosts. Trust me, I have ghosts. And I promise I will learn how to highlight these. You do have to break it up with a dance party every now and then. I couldn't agree more. Sometimes I think that we should just break out in song, right? Or start dancing or singing and dancing at the same time. I don't even care. Just dance your cares away, dance your pain away. Just just dance. Or is the Leanne Womack song that my mom dedicated to my sister and myself, called "I Hope You Dance." Happens to be a particular favorite song of mine, even though I'm not a big country person, but that song has very special meaning to me because of my mom. But yeah, so Wojo, let's see, I started going out there when I was still 15 when when my mom and my sister, who was just 3 years old at the time, moved to Walled Lake. And so for the next 3 or so years, I would bounce back and forth there. I tried to live with her. We couldn't get along because, my parents divorced it. Well, my dad left when I was 5. By 6, I was living with him and my grandma at my grandma's house. I don't have any memories of that transition. Um, I have a tendency to completely black out things that are extremely traumatic. There are some things that are starting to come back now with the influx of the troubled teen industry memories that I'm getting back. And, I'm starting to remember that the main reason that it was so difficult for me was because I was torn away from my mom, my best friend, and and my grandma just always saying bad things about my mom, which I don't agree with that happening being a thing. Um, but we learn the mistakes of the people that came before us, right? At least we like to tell ourselves that and hope that we hope that we can do it. Um, Now, I would say I had more than 12 run-ins with Wojo, and I ended up making some friends in Walled Lake and finding out that this was something that he did. Not to every girl. He had a type. His type were the cute but sassy and troubled girls around town that he knew he could get away with harassing and abusing, and he did just that. Uh, did I turn him in? Did I tell my mom? Did I say anything to anybody? No, because he was a cop. And this was a small town, and I did not feel safe. So as much as I wanted to live with my mom, of course, I kept, I guess you could call it running away from her place too, but just splitting, taking off, chasing the chasing the impulsive good time that I was always doing because that I felt like such garbage inside that, oh, if I'm having fun, I want to keep having fun and keep having fun and keep having fun. But it never turns out that way. You don't ever keep having fun. Something bad always ends up happening. And if it doesn't, you're lucky that time. As a teenage runaway, I can't really speak on teenage runaways right now just because I'm not connected to any teenagers that have run away from home. All the teens I know are through my niece, and I mean they all have their own issues, but nobody has come to me with anything like that. Um, I make myself available to women that are younger than me. Like I have two adopted daughters uh, who adopted me. Really, basically, um, one I met in Florida when I was homeless after I left Jason, and I love her. That's my Neva. And then I also have my Jenna, who I met 2 years ago. Both of them are in their 30s, but my mission, as I've stated before, and I will state again, is that I will continue to use my life lessons to save women and girls that are younger than me going going as long as I did, not knowing what the core problem was, why I couldn't keep a job, why I couldn't be in a relationship, why I was too afraid to get married, why I was too afraid to have kids. Not that I would have married any of the dirtbags that I dated. Eh, they're not all dirtbags. There's a couple of really, really great guys out there, but nobody took me serious as far as dating goes because I was broken, I was irresponsible, and I was unstable. And really, narcissists and predators and abusers are the ones that are attracted to women like that. Hence, spinster with two cats at the end of the road. Um, but as TKD for life had said, that Liz Ferris lit a fire under my ass with her live stream today, and I wanted to come on and talk about why just for a couple of minutes. I didn't intend on going very long because again, a lot of my teenage memories are spotty. Um, Also did have a very bad arrest situation happen to me while I was staying at the Salvation Army shelter in Daytona Beach, Florida. Excuse me, I apologize. I have digestive issues, so that's going to happen. If you don't like it, then you don't have to watch me. That sounds mean, but I can't help it. Anyway, so a friend of mine and I were in different parts of this Salvation Army shelter, and we were technically not allowed to speak to each other, which was really stupid. Um, but so we went across the street into this parking lot of this empty business because we had tobacco and tubes, and we stuffed cigarettes because either that or you smoke the cigar cigarettes, which are absolutely disgusting. Just have to say. And if anybody's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that like you were homeless." Well, you know what? The majority of citizens of the United States are 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless, and that's a fact. Not making that up. So everybody who looks down on homeless people needs to look at somebody like me and realize that a lot of times it's circumstantial. It's not a lifestyle choice. You know, the majority of the people that it's technically considered a lifestyle choice for are veterans, and the people that don't have family or, because of their dual diagnosis problem of addiction and mental health issues, they end up on the street. And also definitely the vets, because the government doesn't care about the people that fight and die for their country, do they? No. Now let me look at a couple of these comments. Tree Hugging Buddhist said, my parents' adopted son has RAD and my bio daughter has ADHD. Both were removed from public schools and referred to troubled teen programs. Well, you know what? Don't be sorry, Tree Hugging Buddhist, because my dad fell for it too, right? They have a really good sales pitch, which is one of the reasons that I am so anti Scientology, that I am, you know, an SPTV supporter and soon to be Squirrel Squad member myself, as I'm going to start auditing some orgs. I'm not going to say where in case anybody decides that they're going to watch me. But don't feel bad. Just you have to forgive yourself. First of all, please forgive yourself because you're a victim too. Survivor. Now I choose to say, but you were a victim of this as well. So please don't feel bad. There's a lady, I'll get in touch with you. There's a lady on uh, Instagram. Her name is the TTI mom, and she's a mom whose kid went through a program. Maybe following her on Instagram might help you. I hope it does. And I really, really don't want you to feel bad. I'm sending you love and hugs. Oh, so they went through the school. So yeah, so school counselors and principals have become involved in it for sure. Even at regular schools. It's pretty crazy to me how they justify that. Um, and then also with police are involved in this because I'm doing research for a video that I'm about to do for the 12-year-old boy who just died the other day at a TTI program called Trails Wilderness Camp in North Carolina. And he died within 24 hours of arriving at this place. And the only thing the police have said is that it was unnatural causes. To me, that's two choices. I'm not going to say anything about that until a report comes out. I don't want to ruin anything for this family. And I'm not an armchair detective for sure. Um, but I was doing some research and there was another young man, 17-year-old young man in 2014 who ran away and died out in the woods of hypothermia. He must have gotten lost. And that program, Trails Wilderness Program in oh, I'm just kidding. I'll tell you in a later video. It took the program operators and staff 5 hours to contact anyone about this kid being missing. So, I mean, you can draw your own conclusions, but tell me again that they have the best interest of the children at heart. I think not. Absolutely not. And I will get into that. But, you know, that's something I think that really bothers me about police because I also in my early 20s worked in a lockdown group home for girls, and these were all court ordered or school ordered girls who were in this home. I was in my 20s, so I was completely gung ho about getting involved with them, and I did, and they read me immediately. They knew that I was one of them because we can see each other. It's a thing, you know. They're like, oh, I see you. All right, you're a warrior too. I got it. So you know, we had great relationships, but when when the girls would run away, we would report it, and the police usually brought them back, and uh, it was a this is what made me report them, which is one of the reasons that I got fired. But the main reason they gave me that I was fired from this program was because I had gotten too close to the girls that lived there. But you would have to, yes, yep, that's where it is. Yep, yep. Thank you for checking that out for me. I thought I had it pulled up on my other screen, but it must be in another browser. Um, So they would drop them off at the back door, and then I would have to make them strip right there in front of me in the kitchen, go right into the bathroom, go through all their things, watch them in the shower. Humiliating thing. And it really did trigger what I had gone through. But again, at this point, I hadn't put it together that this was an industry, that this was a real thing happening to children all over the country, really all over the world. But this is mainly a United States problem. And from what I'm learning from new friends, Canada, but definitely in the United States. And at this point, mainly in Utah. There's over 100 TTI programs in the state of Utah alone, which is insane to me. Um, we need uh, we need state government regulations on this. I'd like to see federal government regulations on this, but you know, people people just love to swear at how much save the children, save the children. So we're pro life and we want to save the children until they're born. And then we don't care what happens to them. And there might be people that don't like me saying that and I know that there are plenty of people that are pro choice and pro life that very much care about children and their circumstances and that they have a good, loving, safe life. But unfortunately, when you're labeled troubled, you're garbage. You're garbage to this day that they still treat kids like this. You're just garbage. So cops don't help you. Cops don't believe you. And you're a kid. When I was 14 years old, another cop. Ooh, when I was 14 years old, my mom, let me sound off on this. Sorry, everybody. My mom was in a relationship that was unhealthy, and things happened. And I'm not going to get into detail. My niece knows about this page. Anyways, it was a situation that caused me to have to call. There is no widespread education on how to deal with troubled kids. No, no, I don't even know. Do they still do special ed in schools? Because first of all, that was a joke. It was just a place to keep kids corralled. Um, but no, they don't. And I think that we talked about this before. Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we talked about this before about how every kid learns differently, right? And there's there's this cookie cutter way in schools in this country of really just teaching all the kids how to be a good worker bee. Honestly, they're not teaching you how to be an individual or and figure out your way or how to budget your money and how to be how to be good to other people and how to be of service to others. No, no, no. They just want to teach you what you need to learn to work a job for what's going to be now 40 years until you die so that you can pay their salary. And that is my absolute 100% stance on that issue. I think that every child should be treated individually because no two people are the same, not even identical twins. So I did have another episode with the police regarding a family situation, and I called the police, and this was before the laws were passed where and they said, by the way, the police, I said this in Liz Ferris's live stream, and it bears repeating. 40% of all domestic abusers are police officers. That is a statistic that you can look up. 1 in 6 women who has been abused in a relationship will be unalived by their abusive partner or former partner. Um, so I had to call the police to have the police come to the house, and it was very obvious what had happened. And the police officers asked my mom if she wanted to press charges, and I'm thinking, look at this. What do you mean? Does she want? Yes. She said no, and she was scared. He had guns, pew pews, whatever. He had them. They were pointed at me, and or one was, and then the cops came and they humiliated my mother and made her feel even worse. And I wanted to attack them, so I started yelling with my big bad 14-year-old mouth. I want to press charges. This guy's not my dad. I want to press charges against him. He assaulted me. And the cops are like, you're a minor. You have no rights. And if your mom wanted to, she could press charges. And then I watched the one cop look at the other cop and go, women. True story. 100% true story. I'm not telling the whole story because that's not time for that yet for me in my personal life. But it was a serious situation, and in the end it was women. Oh, and we'll take your guns for the night. Uh lady, you and your teenage daughter and your 1-year-old baby, you have to leave. Dude, you can pick your guns up from the police department tomorrow morning. How are we not doing any better in 2023 than we were in 1985? Seriously, how are we not doing better? How is it that more women are being killed by their unalived by their partners or former partners because nobody takes it seriously? I didn't know that this is where we were going to end up, but I go where my heart goes, and it for me it all goes back. It goes back to DV for cops with me, DV and SA personally with cops. So yeah, I do. TKD for life happens to know that I was woken up by the police this morning and had very not nice things to scream at them out my window for waking me up and then going outside and giving them an earful for waking me up first, just so that they could scream at cars to turn around. Because they're so propped up that they believe that everything they say goes. They're never held accountable, and they can just be like bullies. It's really the only word that I can think of it, right? Is to be bullies. What you just said really resonates with me. It's how I experienced a lot of school as a kid, although I was lucky and encountered a few teachers who taught me in spite of the system. Kristen, I'm glad that they did. I really am. I'm really glad that they did. There were teachers that tried with me all the way up until my last stint, second to last stint trying regular school. There was a special ed teacher that really saw me. But no, for the most part, I was just that kid that and for anybody who's younger, if there's anybody younger in here that doesn't know this, until I don't want to say the exact year, but I know for me, until 1994, the medical association or the psychiatric association, it's all kind of one lump umbrella. They didn't believe that girls got ADD or what they now call ADHD. They thought that, or they believed, because they don't do medical research on women or girls. Very important thing to remember as well. And this is not a man haters club at all. This is just, I'm just sharing facts that I know. This is not about hating men. I love men, but our system is a little cockeyed as far as looking out for women and girls. And oh yeah, go ahead. I'll see you over there. I'm gonna wrap up here in a minute. Um, I something because I forgot. Oh, ADD. They didn't. I wasn't diagnosed until 1994. And when I told my dad, this was great. I told my dad, I have a brother who's 18 years younger than me. I told my dad about it, and my dad goes, "You don't have that. I have it. Kevin has it, but you don't have it. That's not your problem. You're just always looking for like excuses for why you're such a terrible person." Like, okay, yeah, that's super. But, you know, again, that just goes back to the saying that, women and girls aren't taken seriously. They're not, our bodies really don't belong to us anymore. Um, all of our healthcare work is done based on research on men's health, not women's health. And the bodies are different. We need our own healthcare research, and that has nothing to do with cops. So, on that note, I'm going to dip, but I just want to thank you all for stopping in. I want to thank Liz Ferris, of course, for her amazing live and for inspiring me to come on and rant. And I hope that you all, oh, thanks, Kristen. I hope that you enjoyed yourself. I love you all. And remember, if you do one nice thing for one person today, we all do that, we can change the world. I love you all. Have a beautiful weekend.